In 2018, the April-May 2018 floods experienced in the country affected over 40 counties and displaced approximately 321,630 people in some parts of Kenya. In Isiolo County, hundreds of residents were displaced by the floods, leading to the destruction of houses, loss of livestock and livelihoods. In 2019, the Kenya Meteorological Department had warned of heavy rainfall that was to start on Thursday 23rd to Saturday 25th May 2019 along the coastal strip and offshores. In Kwale County, the hotspot areas included Lemba, Jogoo and Kiss Garage in Ukunda, Vumbu in Kinondo, Mangwei in Pongwe Kikokeni, Lungalunga Town, the River Umba Riparian, Kiwengu and Vanga. The Red Cross conducted a joint assessment with the county government team for Vanga and Pongwe Kikokeni wards in Lungalunga sub-county on Friday 24th May. It found out that several roads were cut off by the floods, with a case of Kiwegu sublocation being marooned completely. The sublocation had a population of 4,000 people who could not access healthcare facilities since the nearest facility was 6 kilometers away. In 2020, the long rain season, which began in March, affected over 233,000 people across 36 of Kenya's 47 counties, including more than 116,000 people displaced. According to the Red Cross Society, at least 85,000 people were left sheltering in displacement camps. In Western Kenya, more than 55,800 people, North Rift 15,000, Coastal 7,800 and Northeastern 7,000 people. Now, at least 54% of the displaced population were female-headed families, while 11% are children under the age of 5. Kenya's Interior Cabinet Secretary Fred Matiang'i confirmed during a press conference on 6th May that at least 194 people had been killed by the flood since March. On 13th to 14th May 2021, heavy rains that were reported across western and southern Kenya, including Nairobi, triggered floods that had resulted in 4 casualties. The Kenya Red Cross reported more than 4,000 houses had been destroyed due to floods in informal settlements in Nairobi. About 6,800 families had been displaced after houses had been reportedly flooded. On May 13th, River Endau and River Kipsangui in western Kenya broke their banks, causing floodwaters which damaged several settlements. In addition, several thousand households had been displaced and 1,000 acres of productive land had been destroyed in Tana River, Kisumu, Busia, Migori, Baringo, and Homa Bay counties.
Right, there you have it, and of course not so good pictures right there. Of course, we have been able to see some of the devastation that has faced several families and of course those who have been affected by the flooding. Let me now introduce our able panel, and we have none other than Sam Dindi. Sam is a Director Planning and Community Mobilization with the Mazingira Yetu organization. Sam, thank you so much for making time. Also with us in the program is Eva Wanjiko. Eva works with the Red Cross Society, and she's the Environment and Climate Change Adaptation Officer. Thank you, Eva, for making time. Also with us is the live studio audience drawn from Africa Nazarene University, Mukuru, Kibera, and Githurai. Asanteni sana for coming to the program. Right, let's just get into the thick of it, and I'll just definitely start off with, they taught me well where I come from, that ladies always go first. So we're going to start with Eva. Eva, I want to understand from your perspective, from the Kenya Red Cross Society, you've been very instrumental whenever we have these disasters caused by rains. And now, you know, we have a department that deals with climate change and mitigation where you sit. Why do we continue seeing this cycle of loss of lives, loss of property, year in, year out? Is it that we are not better at planning, at prevention, and more reactionary as a nation?
Thank you so much, Eugene. Maybe to begin with, as you have mentioned, The Kenya Red Cross mandate is to alleviate human suffering, and over time we have seen, rather we have realized that the kind of disasters we are responding to are climate related. This is the drought and the floods, and that's the reason why the Department of Disaster Risk Management came into play. I think at time, majority of the Kenyans knew that Kenya Red Cross is only responding to disasters. However, we now took another angle as a national society to see how we can mitigate and prevent disasters from taking place. Yeah. That's the play of environment and climate change adaptation dockets. Yeah. So to answer to your question on why some of these disasters are recurrent, as you have mentioned, they are climate related. And so we are speaking about the effects of climate change. So climate change is here with us. We cannot run away from it. It's unfortunate that what we used to see in our earlier days when we were growing up, or when our parents were growing up, is not what is the case right now. So climate change is here with us, and I think that's where we need to tackle it from, and see what are some of the things that we need to do to mitigate. That is one key area, because a lot of focus is being given on adaptation, but also we need to think about how can we mitigate climate change. Secondly, maybe to mention is, I know different organizations, the government bodies, NGOs, community-based organizations are doing different things, but I think it's now time to have a concerted effort. Yeah. I think that is the missing link, because I believe everyone is doing something, even at the community level. Yeah. But now we need that concerted effort, so that we stop having that missing link on everyone is doing something, but then we cannot see the change that is needed. So that is
and then it's causing a lot of confusion. Exactly. You're not sure who's doing what, and then we're all caught off guard.
Exactly, and that's now why we keep seeing these recurrent disasters.
Yeah. Yeah. Some, the argument is that we are not good at planning. We react. Tunangoja ifanyike, then now that's when we come and we now start saying, you know what, wale ambao wanaishi hapa muhame, wale ambao wanaishi pale muhame, drainage and all those kind of issues. We seem to be a reactionary society, from government to watu wa mashinani to the leadership. Is this what you read yourself? I mean, from where you sit?
For the many years that I've been working in the environment sector, it is something that I've noted. We are we are very reactive, not proactive society. But since 2016, I think there's been this change coming with the enactment of the Climate Change Act of 2016 that provides a framework for climate mitigation and adaptation towards a country that operates in a low carbon economy kind of thing. Yeah. So with the enactment of the Climate Change Act of 2016, I believe that if you follow it, if we follow its aims, like for example, one of the aims is to make sure that we mainstream all the climate-related responses in regards to planning, decision-making, and implementation. So if we put, like what Eva said, if we follow the Climate Act to its latter, then we shall stop being a reactive society and become a proactive society. So the Climate Change Act of 2016 is what should be our guiding factor going forward.
Right, but among the audience here, I'm sure there are those who are saying, hii ni kizungu mingi. Hii ni kizungu mingi. Next year will come. We lost a lot of property. We have seen over 40,000 people displaced this year. The number could be more. Those are just the reported cases. And next year, even with this kizungu ya carbon and all those things, climate mitigation, we may still face the same, predicament. How do you ensure, Eva, that, regardless of those big terminologies, those big, protocols and all that, how do you ensure that we are reducing, significantly the loss of life. All of us cannot control the disaster. We don't know when a calamity will befall us. But with all those big terminologies and all the things we need to follow, like Sam says, why do we still continue seeing the same recurrent cycle? That's the question.
I think it's time we adopt the bottom-top approach. What you're saying, hiyo kizungu mingi, yeah. I think it's time we demystify some of these things that are in that act to the common mwananchi. Have things we're talking about, response teams on the ground. Ensure that we are also sensitizing the community on the ground, because those are the people who are being affected. Yeah, that is one. Ensuring that we are constantly sensitizing the community on issues climate change, issues environmental conservation and management. And then secondly, it's time, I know something is in the pipeline, some county governments are doing it, but also it's time for, and something we are advocating as a national society, for every county to have a disaster management kitty. So that one, when a disaster strikes, they are prepared. But secondly, even before that disaster strikes, then the community members, the line ministries, all relevant stakeholders are ready. Yeah. So that's something we're advocating as well.
Right. Yeah. Sam, before I go back or I go to the audience, to the floor for them to ask their questions or contribute, it beats logic to feel that there isn't enough resources allocated to the counties. As Eva says, we need some funding. This is not a thing that you'll just wake up in the morning and sort out with no money in the pocket as a county government or as a community. Do you feel that priorities are being lost? We are losing as far as priorities are concerned as a country, as a government?
First of all, the environment sector has never been taken serious for a long time. And yet Kenya is known to be a global icon when it comes to environment-related issues. We've got Wangari Maathai, she was from here. We host UNEP, we're from here. Globally, we are known for environment-related things, but sometimes what the missing link, like in our counties, has been the political will. Yeah. Like, for example, most of the counties right now, they are domesticating the Environment Act, the Climate Change Act 2016, to suit their own county levels. But domesticating it is not enough. It needs that political will from the county executive, from the county assembly, so that they make sure after each financial year, enough resources and manpower are allocated to climate-related issues. Yeah. Because we cannot have a climate disaster response team minus that act. They need to be, it's a whole sector, it's a very huge thing. But now, what is missing is the political will.
Political will. I want to go to the floor. We have a microphone that will come to you. You'll just raise your hand up. And I'm picking from what Sam amesema, ya kwamba the politicians or the leadership does not have the will to actually streamline maneno ya environment into governance, into, supporting with finances and all that. And I want to ask you, saizi tuko kwa heka za siasa za 2022. Would you vote for a politician? Would you even want to listen to a politician who comes to talk to you about environment issues? Are they even doing that? Ama unaona kwamba there is just kitu ingine ambayo wakisema hiyo ndio utafuata as opposed to environment? Do you even see any of them coming to you to talk to you about maneno ya mazingira, especially where you come from, where you sit, and all the problems you have? Just raise your hand up and then a microphone will be given to you. We have a gentleman here, hapa mbele. Tumpatie microphone. Hapa mbele. Yes. Right, so sema jina.
Mimi jina yangu ni Francis Mukiri kwa majina, but kwa community yangu wananijua kama Future. So mimi kitu naweza taka kusema, wale leaders ambao tuko nao hawashughuliki na kitu yote na concern na mtaa. What they need is vote. Hiyo ndio kitu important kwao. Na mimi naweza sema maybe kwa wale wenye watakuja next time, naweza taka kuangalia kuna kuangana hiyo kiti ya 6% ya disaster kwa hiyo kiti MCA. Haifanyangi kazi. Ni vitu tumekuwa tukizifikia kwa sababu kama mtu wa community amechomekewa, nyumba yake imeungua temporary kabisa, hana kitu yote, hana usaidizi yote mbele wala nyuma, hiyo 6% iko kwa hiyo docket ya MCA, inafaa kuwa inafanya kazi, but nowadays iko tu shut off.
Unajua 2022 watarudi tena kwako.
Yeah, watarudi kwangu.
Hawawezi kwenda kupata hiyo kiti bila wewe.
Yeah, watarudi tena, but I'm trying to educate my community.
Yeah.
Vote for somebody mwenye amekuwa kwa ground akihakikisha zile majanga ambazo zinatukabidhi kila kuchao, tumekuwa na resilience. A community.
Right.
Kwa sababu without a resilience community, there is no need to vote.
Right.
Yeah.
I like that. Let's take another one here. Na mumpigia makofi kama mnaona amesema point. Msiogope. Right.
Hi everyone.
Hi.
My name is Nancy. I'm from Mukuru. A member of the community disaster response, and my question is to the politicians. Do they even know what the climate is? Do they even know what those changes entail? Ama saa zile tukiadhirika ndio anakimbia kuja kupatia na mattress ama mitungi. Do they even know what actually is on the ground? Yeah, that's my question to them.
Right. And before you give out the microphone, because you are part of a very important, organ in dealing with what we are discussing tonight, what is your idea for the communities and people coming from different places in dealing with this issue? Kwa sababu every time kuna disaster, tunaona wanasiasa wanakuja wengi sana. That's the time they come, and we have a lot of them there. So what is your big idea in ensuring that they are acting before and not being reactive? Wanakuja wakati imefanyika.
First of all, hawa watu wako guided na acts. Hizo wana make sijui bills, sijui acts huko kwa parliament. Na kuna Climate Change Act ya 2016. What does it say? Mbona hawaizingatii zaidi? Unaona, it's just an act. For the longest time it has been ignored. And I'm sure kuna kitu wanaweza fanya hapo before janga zitoke. Kuna like ecosystem restoration. Unaona, tunafaa kufanya sensitizations. Hakuna mtu hata anaweza kuwa amekufa kama hizi sensitizations zinaweza kuwa like wana partner. Like wanakuwa stakeholders in the community to make sure hizi sensitizations zimekuwa successful.
Right.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, habari zenyu.
Nzuri.
Kwa majina naitwa Dennis Mreithi, community responder na Kenya Red Cross. I'm the community chairperson. Na most of the time kwa community si ndio responder, huwa tuna respond na hii calamities zenye zinatupata, na naona tuko na big gap sana kwa viongozi wetu, sababu most of the time sisi ndio tunafanya mambo na hiyo ku sensitize the community, we respond. Na also pia ukipata shida mingi sana kama ni magonjwa, si ndio tunapitia kuwasaidia, au viongozi wetu wenyewe waonekani pale, but mwisho wanakuja wanatuambia tuwapigie kura, watatufanyia. Kuna wengine tumeona pia wamekuwa wanakisema watafanya, wamekuwa niyo miaka wajafanya. Sasa hii tukienda kwa community, hata mimi nimejulikana zaidi kushinda MCA, sababu ile kazi yenye nafanya, kukiwa na mgonjwa mimi ndio nitaitwa kulingana na ile mafunzo nimepata through Kenya Red Cross. So the only thing nikasema hawa politician hawezi tudanganya tena, na the only thing tunaweza fanya kwa community kama sisi tunawasensitize na tunawaambia how these calamities tunaweza zi overcome. Sababu kitu ya kwanza kama kurespond na mambo na floods, tumefanya mambo na kumark mito zetu, tumeweka zile za early warnings kuonesha community whenever we have floods you are not supposed to sit here. Whenever you see water is behind your legs ama zimefika in your knees, you are supposed to look for another area to go, so that usikuje kwa victim kwa hiyo calamity. So tumejaribu kuwafundisha community na they respond very well. The only thing we have is those politicians na hizo bills zenye kama dadangu amesema wametuwekea bills zenye zitusaidii. Kuna zile pesa zimetolewa zimekuwa kwa board pale zenye zinafaa zitumike kama kwa MCA tukienda kwa machifu wetu wanatuambia hakuna, but we know kwa budget tumesomewa, so tunashindwa ni wakina nani wanapelekewa ngai pesa. Haya, jambo lingine, politician wenyewe wanataka kama kuna janga watumie watu wao, ili hali badala watumie the right channel kama sisi responders, sababu sindo tunajua shida ziko huku chini. Wakitumia watu kama sisi tunajua hii community yetu tuna run kutoka juu mpaka chini. Hapa ndo tuko na flooding, hawa ndo walikuwa affected, but the channel wanatumia it is very poor. Wana use the chiefs wale chiefs wenyewe wanatumia wazee wa vijiji, ambapo ikirudi kama ni kwenda kupatia na kama ni hizo benefit, wale wenye wanaenda kupata benefit sio wale wenye walikuwa affected. The affected are their families, so we have a big problem. Na the only thing kama hiyo calamities kuisha ni zile sensitization zetu ni tunafanya, na pile respondents in the community imejua we are capable of doing. So if these channels are being played very well with the proper groups, it will be very okay. Na pia naweza nikarudisha shida sana kwa hizo bodi zetu za government. Kuna zile groups zinafanya mambo na about garbage collection ambao inadili na mambo na mazingira yetu, but they cannot be helped. Hata kama wanaenda kuitisha pesa huko watakosa, na unajua hao ndio wanajua shida ziko kwa community. About garbage collection, mambo ya recycling, hatuna funds kwa nini kwa maward zingekuja zinatusaidia kama group za kurespond, so hiyo ingekuwa inatusaidia kureduce mambo na hizo calamities kwa community.
Right. Asante sana. Thank you. I'll come back. I'll come back on the floor one more time. Eva, very important ideas coming from the floor. I'd like us to talk about the power that the community has in solving these problems. We seem to have given the politicians more power when we are the power. You know, how do we change that mindset? How do we ensure that the community understands their power? You know, yes, we will have elections in 2022. We have had past elections, but it is us in the community that vote these leaders. How do we ensure that the community understands that I will not vote for you if you will not focus on the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things that have been affecting us, so that we're not falling in the same trap come 2022?
Yeah, it's unfortunate that it's the people in office who have the money in their kitties, but then the person who's being affected is the community member. And so I think I just go back to what I keep mentioning and what the youth are talking about on sensitizing the community, for them to understand that it is for them to make the change, because they are the people who are being affected. Sensitizing them on, you know, what we're talking about, environmental issues, but also more importantly on even civic education, linking it to civic education and environment, continuing raising awareness that it is them who can be able to make this change. And also for the youths themselves to understand that they're enough. Once they raise their voices, once they knock on those doors, that they can make that change. Yeah, so, and especially more so even just speaking about women, women also need to come out strongly. I draw my example from initiatives that I have coordinated on environment, and you can see that women are a gender that is really affected by climate change. So it's up to them as well to come out strongly and speak about these things, and not be afraid to speak out and say, this is what we want. We cannot continue electing this kind of leaders who do not have a forward kind of thinking.
Right.
Yeah.
Sam, I mean, we're talking about mobilization, we're talking about the power in changing the status quo. I mean, from where you sit, non-government organizations, civic bodies, how do we ensure that these communities take up the power that strongly belongs to them in changing the tides? Because we've had politicians wanangoja wakati mkasa umetokea, that's when they want to come for photo opportunities, some of them you know, for other reasons that we do not know. And the community is asking, where were you to actually help us save our loved ones who we have lost in this disaster?
I think, thanks for the question once again. I think as civic bodies, NGOs, and well-wishers, we also need to take a proactive role in whatever that we are doing instead of finger pointing the politicians that have not done A, B, C, D. Yeah? As one of the orders has said, the Climate Change 2016 Act is already there. And in one of the aim of the acts is to empower the community to participate in climate-related awareness and in education. So us who are aware about this act, we should take that initiative of breaking this act to the members of the public. Let them know their rights through this act. What can this act achieve?
Is this happening?
So far, like in Kenya, I think so far only 10 counties have domesticated the act. And it is still we have a long way to go. So if the members of the public are aware about this act and their rights and what this act is supposed to do to prevent these climate-related disasters, then it will help in addressing these challenges.
Right.
A clear example is the recent rains that occurred here in Nairobi. River Ngong was, for the longest time possible, I've never seen River Ngong being that flooded. We are currently working on restoring River Ngong in Kibera. And that rain killed around 6 people. And property was damaged, the sewer lines were destroyed. But if you are to look at the color of the water, it was dark brown. Meaning, where this river is coming from, River Ngong, all the trees have been cleared. There is massive soil erosion.
Yeah, and siltation. Yeah.
So there is nothing that is holding back that excess water. If the trees are there, it will hold that excess water and it will regulate the flow to the river. So as a civic body or NGOs or members of the government, we need to go and look at the source of this problem. The problem is in Ngong Hills. There are no trees. We need to go and plant trees there massively in order to prevent a future occurrence of such a problem. But so far, the floods are gone. No one has ever sat down and deduced what can we do to prevent, because I think the rains are coming in October. And I don't know whether you have noticed, it doesn't rain for a long period, but it rains for only a short period, but very intensely.
Yeah.
So as civic bodies and NGOs, we need to be proactive. Inform the community about this act, whether the act has been domesticated, and what are our rights within those acts. So that we hold our leaders accountable. If the moment we become accountable, these leaders will ask themselves, wow, you mean these guys are talking about climate change act, what is it all about? Because there are others maybe who may not be aware. Maybe it was just passed in the House, that day there were 20 members of parliament, others were not there. Maybe they are not aware. But us, we need to hold them account.
Okay. And you cannot do that if you're not informed. Cannot do that if you're informed. I want to come back to the audience one more time. And I see you already have the mic, but I want to ask this question. These trees, in many cases we have had the leadership saying that the public also has a role to play. You are also contributing to these disasters we are seeing, because those trees don't cut themselves down. Those drainages do not block themselves. People encroaching some of the riparian land, it's not the leaders doing that. How do you ensure that the citizenry is also contributing to the solution provision to these problems? Ama wanawaonea,
Yeah, thank you very much for your question. My name is Chantal. I'm an alumni of African Nazarene University. Excuse me, and a passionate conservationist. To answer your question, just like everyone here said, it is true the politicians have a role to play. In my opinion, I believe they know what is right. They know that climate change is real, and it's upon them for them to, be accountable. But over the recent years, they've proven to, always disappoint. We will say that we'll elect different people. They'll come and give us really good-looking manifestos. But the moment they step in the seat, things change. So I believe it's upon them to just hold the trust the citizens have upon them. But I believe that every person has an individual role with regards to climate change. The environment is the only thing that all humans share. So it's our sole responsibility to be accountable. We have a culture where matatu and someone takes a bottle of water and you toss it outside. We have a culture where we want charcoal, you just simply go there and cut down the trees. So I think once everyone understands climate change, understands that every single thing they do plays a role with regards to climate change, and this in turn affects, the weather patterns, and flooding comes in as a ripple effect.
Right.
Every person should, at their own capacity, might not be a really big, NGO level, but where you sit, when we, for example, our masks, people are just throwing them really haphazardly. These are the small things that in turn lead to climate change, in turn lead to flooding.
Yeah.
And I'd also like to say that the political space, yes, the government has a long arm, but they're not able to get to every single corner. But just like other sectors have been decentralized, if funds and resources, trainings would be given to this set of youth, many of us here have really brilliant ideas. Many of us here have really nice initiatives. And since the government can't get to, every individual homestead, if all the youth are, they're given the ability and the willpower so that they can actualize what they actually have, people can do the little they can in their villages and communities, then in turn we will have a general cleaner and greener Kenya.
Right.
So, yeah.
Right. And so, yeah, good. And so what's your idea in changing this culture of throwing the, finished drinking that juice through the window, the masks that you said are now being dumped into these drainages? I mean, what would be your biggest idea in culture change? Because they are all playing a role in everything that we're talking about today as far as, these disasters are concerned.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I think one, it's on sensitization in terms of NGOs and governments and civil societies, educating the community on the necessity of this. But two, I'd also say policies and laws would work. COVID came and we were told that we need social distance. And because it was a law, if you found on the wrong, sitting with someone, 3 more people, people eventually adapted. It was really hard, but since it's a policy, you had to do it. Polythene bags were a norm. We were so used to them. But since a law was enacted, whether you like it or not, you had to do it.
Yeah.
So if we embrace such cultures where laws and policies that are actually put in place are enacted on the ground,
Right.
of course with education so that we can understand why we're doing this,
Right.
then eventually we just over time form the culture.
Right.
Yeah.
Remind me your name again.
Chantal.
Chantal, it's 2022, I fast forwarded. You ran for office, member of parliament. Where do you come from? Kikuyu. You've been elected a member of parliament in Kikuyu. Let's ask for her for that. You're seated in parliament day one. What is that bill that you'll be suggesting that would come into law to actually achieve what you just said? I mean, what is the law that you would actually be proposing for those people found dumping ovyo, messing up the environment? Wapigwe ngoto, wafanywe namna gani? What is that law?
That's a really tough question. But I think what I'd say is it's just an individual responsibility. We're not really gonna tie your neck, or something.
Yeah.
But just know that you're doing this for yourself. I wouldn't want to enforce it in such a way that people will now rebel, because Kenyans can be rebellious. So the best thing is to have sort of a discussion, just like a child. When you train them that you should not, do something wrong here, they'll take that culture up, and they'll grow knowing that my mother's gonna get mad at me.
Yeah.
So I think it's just supposed to be a discussion and an understanding, people to get the point as to why they're doing this. Because over the years, when I tell someone I was doing environmental science, so we're like, oh, mnapandanga miti, that's the only thing they know we do.
Yeah.
So people don't understand the gravity of climate change, pollution, encroachment of forests. First of all, mainly education, sensitization to the public.
Right. Asante sana, member of parliament from Kikuyu. I want to hear an answer to this question, whether we are a society that learns. Do we learn? Do we really learn? Like some said, in October, we are expecting the rains to come. We had rains in April, crossed over into May, had disasters. We have lives that were lost. Have we learned anything that we can say from where we sit that in October, hii mvua wacha ikuje, itatupata tuko tayari? Do we learn, Eva?
I mean, we are a society that tends to live for the day. The March, April, May rains came. They were destructive in parts of the country. We sat down and said, okay, that's it. And then now we're expecting the OND rains, the October, November, December rains.
Yeah.
And like you just mentioned earlier, we are more of a reactive country than a proactive, and that's what we are trying to change. Something else how I'd like to take that question, another angle is, do we learn, Kenyans, we learn when there's serious enforcement. Where I'm getting at is, there's a big issue with the floods in the informal settlements. And like you've mentioned, it's because people have encroached. I don't even want to say it's on the riparian. Some have even built on the river. And that's a big, big challenge until serious enforcement is put into place. And that's why I go back to, it has to be a concerted effort by everyone. There's the urban planning government arm has to come into play and seriously enforce some of these rules. Yeah, there's the environment body that needs to look at the sewer system, the solid waste management issues, the community members themselves. If you see your neighbor, possibly you're at the edge of the riparian and someone has come and built right next to you, it's your mandate as well. Because when floods comes, for example, what Sam was saying with the Ngong River that traverses Kibera and Mukuru, when the floods comes, na zinatoka mbali, it's flash floods from many, the Ngong Hills and all that. Yeah. Once they come, it's affecting all of us. Yeah. So to answer your question is, we don't learn. It's unfortunate. We wait until the brink of the moment when things are very, very thick, and that's why we keep saying that sensitization is very key. Yeah. Let people learn, and also I am a strong believer of let people be whipped where it needs to. Let enforcement be put into place as well. Yeah. Yeah.
So you wouldn't take her approach.
No, I would. It would be a little bit of a balance. Yeah. Wacha tuongee. Yeah. But pia, you can talk for too long, and things are just getting worse. Right. So let also the enforcement bodies come into play, and seriously, for lack of a better word, punish those who are, like for example, if someone builds, piles up gunia na amejenga kwa mto, it's having a ripple effect on the other person who is doing the right thing, upstream. So enforcement also has to come to play, and very strongly as well. Right.
Yeah. Sam, do we learn? Have we learned anything? Do you think come October, November, December, one life is too many to lose? We should have learned something. Have we?
There is someone who said that we learn nothing and forget nothing. From my experience, like in Kibera, even the group of the Kibera people can testify, tuko na kichwa ngumu.
Watu wa Kibera, hebu inueni mkono tuwaone. Mabazu.
Why I'm saying this, you clearly understand that you're not supposed to construct up to the river, at the edge of the river, because it's dangerous. Each time it rains, and since last year in December, the intensity of rain has increased. It sweeps your houses away. It kills your livestock, even it takes away lives. Yeah. So, as members of the public, you're just supposed to live. You're not supposed to, for the punishment and enforcement to take place. You're just supposed to live. Yeah. Yeah. Then secondly, all these government agencies, it's high time they came in and enforced the law. The people have constructed along riparian areas, they need to live for their own good. Yeah. It's not because there's any political connotation to it, but for your own good. Yeah. It's high time you left. Yeah. Then thirdly, the youth, members of the public who are enlightened, you also need to play a role. I usually tell the people that I work with that you are the ambassadors. Go back to the community and educate them. We cannot just be blaming the government, blaming the NGOs, and yet yourself you're knowledgeable, you're supposed to go there and talk to them. Because maybe if you talk to them, they will listen to you more compared to a government agency. Yeah? So all of us need to play a role to educate the people, reiterate why they need to leave that place, reiterate, give them a classical example. Like, for example, people in Lindi.
Yeah.
Like, for example, in Lindi, there's a crossing that connects Ngong Road and Langata Road. 3 border young men were crossing River Ngong. It was fully flooded. And yet they knew when you cross that river with a motorbike, definitely you'll be swept. And they crossed. Unfortunately, all of them were swept away. Yeah? So sometimes tuko na ujeuri. Yeah? So all of us need to play a role. As community leaders, as the young people who are enlightened, should stop finger pointing and try and educate them. Let us not get tired of knocking in this government office. Let us write petitions. Let us persist. Yeah? The way they said, Jesus said in the Bible, in prayers, you persist in prayers. Paka Mungu anasema, hey, my son, I've heard your prayer. So it's the same case. We need to persist, knock these offices, knock on these individuals, the people that you are staying with, until when they listen, is then we shall have won the battle. Because currently the battle is halfway won.
Halfway won.
Yeah.
So Eva says we need to have a mix of the discussion, but also a bit of weeping. Sam says kichwa ngumu. Watu wa Kibera mmesema hapa. I'd want to hear from you. But my concern is, at what point do the citizens or the people in the community level decide to have that kichwa ngumu? It must be coming from somewhere. There must be something that makes them say, I cannot leave this place, or there's a reason why I'm deciding to build here and not somewhere else. Are the communities being pushed to the edge? Is it justifiable for you to be where you are, yet it can cost your life? Those who are even deciding to cross, is there something pushing them? Nyumbani pengine kuna mashida, nimeambiwa nisiporudi na mkate, leo nilale kwenye nimetoka. I want to hear from the community. I mean, you have the mic. Go ahead.
Thank you so much for your question.
Yeah.
My name is Modesta Lynn, and I'm also an alumnus of Africa Nazarene. So from my end, I can say it's a need basis. You find a situation whereby we need housing, we need the development. So you find now someone else did it, got away with it. As Eva talked about now, the issues of now weeping, as I can say, someone got away with it. And I feel like I need this more than they do. So I will end up going there and doing the same exact thing they did, because from my end, it's from a need basis. From their end, maybe it was based on their power grid or something of that sort. So communities, at some point, we blame them, yes. We blame ourselves at some point. But we look at it from a situation whereby I have a need, but how do I solve this need? The education part comes in handy. What is a sustainable way of actually giving solutions to these communities? They need a place to live. What else, apart from now building next to riparian lands, can we give them, or can we teach them? So even if they build, even if they have land somewhere, they know better than, let's not build here, let's build somewhere else. So there's the education factor, and there's the factor whereby sustainable solutions. So are we giving solutions whereby we still need housing? We're not going to look away from the fact that even if we're environmental conservationists and we're moving people away from riparian lands, and we're telling people not to build next to, not to cut down trees, these people still need timber for what they want to build with. They still need timber for the GECOs that they have to use on the daily basis, because they can't afford maybe natural gas, for example. So how do we actually sustainable solutions to these issues? And you've asked about ideas that people have, and there's so many ideas. The platforms also are very many, but now there's that gap in between. These ideas don't get to those people who need them. So you find a situation, NGOs, there's some NGOs who actually fund these ideas, and then there's a community who need these ideas. So how to bridge this gap is where we need to look into as community members, as NGOs, as government, for instance. So people need land. We need to solve the issues of floods, for instance. We need to solve the issues of pollution that actually even facilitate these floods as well. So this person has this idea to solve this. They need funding, so they get the funding. And then they have the people they want to go to, so these are the community members, so access to these community members as well. So if this triangle is able to actually, this line is able to be crossed in between people, we're able to actually move at a better place of actually solving all these issues.
Right.
So
As I ask this follow-up question, I need you to take a deep breath, close your eyes, take yourself so very far away into that idea, fundable, that your potential funder could be watching right now, of sustainably solving the problem that you just talked about right now. There's the land, they need, a place to live, but that is, they're pushed by the need. What would be a sustainable idea that would sort this? Potentially your financial is watching. You said some have good ideas, but the funders are not. This could be it. What is that idea?
So for the development part, I think actually for areas like Nairobi, we've flooded Nairobi, honestly, as human beings. If you look at communities in the rural areas, there's enough land for people to live in, honestly, and there's enough space for these people to actually stay in. So there are two things. One, we use aerial space. We no longer just use vertical, like we just don't build across, but we use aerial space. And we also have enough land. So we need to stop this consumer issue whereby we always flood in the same towns over and over again. So if we, the county's government was actually put up so that we can, remove people from certain areas and now spread them throughout. So if we're able to actually take the businesses that people look for, the job opportunities that people look for instance, now instead of just having one company having just its headquarters in Nairobi, they have headquarters maybe in Kisumu, they have headquarters in Nakuru. So people are able to spread out to these other towns, and they're able to now utilize land that doesn't have to mean that we spread over to even riparian lands. So I can say two things. One, decongest cities. So businesses, because people go where they can be able to solve their needs. So people go look for jobs, and jobs are in Nairobi, according to what most people know. So if we're able to take jobs even to someone's rural homestead, like just outside there's a job opportunity for them, and SMEs are able to be funded. So someone doesn't have to go looking for corporate opportunities. So SMEs being funded, and also companies having situations where they're able to have branches outside of just one city.
Right.
They're able to have people having job opportunities wherever they are, so they don't have to keep moving and looking for land to build and build and build and build.
Right.
So such situations.
Such are ideas.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Good stuff. I want the mic to Rove, and I want someone from Kibra to talk to us a bit about what Sam said, that we seem to have scenarios where people are just finding themselves doing what they know they shouldn't be doing, and ending up, being the numbers that we end up reading as those who have been affected by these climate-related disasters. Just your name and your point.
Kwa majina ni Celestine Lauren Adhiambo, mimi ni mkaji wa Kibra. Nafanya na organization ya mazingira yetu. Venye Sama amesema tu, watu ni kichwa ngumu. Unaona, wanasahau shida yenye wako nayo ni kusahau. Sasa sema mvua sitakuja, itanyesha, watu wapate madhara, si ndio? Sasa zenye watu wamepata madhara ndo wanaona tungesaidika. Lakini kabla, yani wanapuuza. Unaona, hatu wajaribu kuongelesha mtu ni kupuuza. Alafu shida yenye tuko nayo, watu wanajenga kando ya rive. Yani unaona tu hapa ni rive, but mtu ameng'ang'ana anajenga karibu nayo kabisa.
Ni kwa sababu amekosa mahali ya kujenga, ama ni kwa sababu tu yeye anataka kujenga hapo?
Anataka kujenga
kwa beach. Ama ni rent imemsukuma hapo? Shida ni nini?
Kuna wengine hata si rent. Yani tu mtu hataki kuona space iko hivyo. Unaona? Hiyo ndio shida yenye tuko nayo. Sasa madhara ikishakuja ndio mtu anaona hata irinia niame. Tena watapuuza, mvua watajenga tena, shida ikishatokea watasahau tena watengeneze. Mvua ikikuja ni the same thing. Unaona sasa? Sasa wasiblame ati ma politician na wasaidi. Yaani sisi wenyewe. Sisi wenyewe tujiangalie kutoka chini.
Right. Asante sana. Thank you so much for that. There's someone at this end, but as the mic goes there, we've seen a lot of relocations when government is trying to do relocations of people from different places. And it has always ended up becoming a political issue. You know, you've seen where people have said, hii serikali inanyanyasa watu wake. Kwa nini mmebomolea yule kioski yake, soko imeondolewa? And the government is probably saying the reason why we are moving you is what would cause you problems in future. Let's talk about the thin line between politics and solving these particular problems. How politics is also affecting the solution to these particular problems. We've seen even the Mau forest, it ended up being a political issue. So ni vipi tunaweza kutenganisha siasa na suluhu za mambo ambazo zinatuaffect sisi kama wananchi? Go ahead.
Hi everyone.
Hi.
Mimi naitwa Oliech from Kibera. Mimi nilikuwa nataka kuchangia mambo hiyo yetu ya Kibera ya kichwa ngumu.
Endelea.
Kuna baadhi ya wasee huko, unaona ile time ya post election violence. Kulikuwa na wenye hizo nyumba. So hiyo time wengi venye walikuwa wa Kikuyu. Wakaamua kutoka hapo na kuenda sababu ya kuogopa hiyo labda kuuliwa. So umeacha nyumba wazi, si ndio? Jirani yako sababu wewe ulikuwa landlord, jirani ana take over hiyo hao, anakuwa landlord. So the moment tutaenda kumwambia ahame, hata mtakosana. Juu hapo ndo pale anapata do zake yeye kama landlord. Na anazidisha hao zingine hapo kwa mtu kabisa. So sisi mtaa shida tuko nayo sasa. Hata example hapa kama hapa Katwekera hapa, tumejaribu hata kuongea wasee kuhusu mambo ya choo, wacha tu kusimwaga hapo na kuna siwa. Hata kuna choo zingine ziko wazi, hata wewe mwenyewe ukiona utachafuka roho. Wewe na wewe unaishi Kibera, lakini wewe ukiona pia utachafuka roho. Ujaribu kuongea na wasee hapo, unapelekwa hata mpaka kwa makarau. Juu umejaribu kuzuia pale mtu ana pesa yake. Umeona? Vitu vingine hizi mambo na brua, mambo ya kutegeza pombe kando na mto, hiyo maji yote, hiyo uchafu yote wanaweka kwa mto. Unapata hata hiyo pollution
inakuwa nyingi.
Na to affect pia watoto wetu pia wanacheza hizo maeneo, unaona? Yeah.
Solution inakuwa nini kutoka kwako? Wewe unaweza kusuggest idea gani, tufanye nini to solve your problem?
Yeah.
Hizo zote umesema.
Ya kwanza mimi nitasema hiyo mambo ya garbage. Lakini pia shida tuko nayo juu hatuna gari mtaa ya kutubebea hiyo nini. Hiyo takataka ikuja mtaa. Kanjo kitambo walikuwa wanaleta lori mara moja kwa wiki. But saizi hakuna lori yote inaingia mtaa. So takataka yote, hasa yote kifanya garbage collection, ni kiasi sana yenye itachomwa na ni kiasi sana yenye itachukuliwa labda ende ipimwe kama ni chuma ama nini. Plastic saizi na mbona ndio wameanza kuchukua plastic wanauza hizo za maji. Lakini the rest yote ni kwa mto.
Hebu ongea na leader wako sasa hivi.
Leader wangu nini? Mimi leader wangu kwanza kitu kwanza si moja. Jai muona tangu elektiwe.
Ni nani? Ni nani huyo?
Anaitwa Kase.
Kase.
MC wangu wa Lindi. Hatujai muona. Tunajua tu pia anajipanga tena kukuja kufanya kutafuta nini kwetu, lakini niko sure this time hatuwezi mpea. Sasa hili dampoa ni mtu atafanyia kitu kwanza. Sasa hizi ndio vijana sasa hizi tu. Watu wagutuke. Mwacha akufanyie kitu kwanza, asikwambie atakufanyia. Tunataka hall, tutengezee hall kwanza, tuweke viti ndani, tukue tukihaya hii hall, ikuwe kutuingizia do kama ma youth wa area. asikuwa na promise, sababu hata mimi hata sasa sura yake nikidhani hata imeshanitoka, labda nimuone kwa photo. Vitu kama hizi ndio wanasikia, but wameenda hapo kujijenga, na ni sisi tunaumia. Yeye sasa yako palipoa, sasa nimekuja hapa hivi ndio tunaongea, yeye ataisikia, kuna kitu yote ataka kwa kichwa. Next atakuja hiyo siku tupatie 100 yako, ukuje uchukue kura yetu ukiendaga.
Na hiyo nasema mmekataa.
Ndio hivyo.
All right. Let's pass the microphone. Very powerful. As the mic rolls over, Sam and Eva, I mean, we are seeing the relationship between politics and all these problems. And like, as I mentioned earlier, we've seen how politicization has been done when it comes to trying to prevent some of these disasters. I mean, how do we, what's your idea in creating a thick line? Now we have a very thin line between politics and trying to help wananchi. We always politicize things here in this country. What's your idea on dealing with this? Especially now with 2022 coming, there's a politician who knows very well that these people don't have to live there, but hata wagusa, ndio nikose kura.
And that is where I was saying earlier that there are bodies, there are environmental bodies that are governed to do these jobs. Yeah, I would want to pick one. NEMA. NEMA is a watchdog for all environment management issues. And that's why I'm saying they need to be strengthened a little bit more to be able to whip people when they go wrong. They need to be given more. They already have the mandate, but come out strongly. It's unfortunate that you will find some of these people are already even in this organization. Yeah. But some of these institutions have to come out very clearly and stipulate certain things, and now get to a point where it's not business as usual. Because when these disasters strike, it's not business as usual. Yeah. On the politics, it's a roller coaster. I think I'll also want to hear what the audience will say, because it's unfortunate it's us who elect the same leaders. Unajua huyu mtu is not even bothered about your well-being, but amekuja amekupatia something small. As now we are approaching campaigns, we're going to see a lot of that. So we just need to strike a balance as human beings. And even if you're not being affected, someone else in your community is. So then why are you agreeing to elect the same leader, and yet you know they will not bring any kind of solution or development here? So it's really, for me, I feel like it has to be an individual effort. You have to really, I call yourself for a meeting and ask yourself, is this person going to bring any kind of development or solution into your community? But it's also unfortunate that the kind of leaders who are out there, and we'll now start seeing a number of manifestos coming out very soon, very colorful ones. But you also need to educate yourself and evaluate and see huyu kweli anasema atatuletea nini.
The way he said.
Yeah.
First do it.
Yeah.
Let's see it.
Exactly.
Then we can listen to you.
And secondly, why not even us as the youth here, as the audience, why not try and hold these offices?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nani hapa anavai? Okay.
Kuna watu wamefanya bila pesa. Once you go out there and sell your agenda and sell it strongly, utapata vijana wanakusupport.
Watakuja. All right. Sam, your thoughts? I think the mic is on the floor before we go to the mic. Yeah. Especially the thin line between politicization of solution provision.
Politics and environment are intertwined. They cannot do without the other. We cannot separate politics from environment.
Yeah.
Because as I think Lynn or Chantal has said, all of us are benefiting from the environment. All of us are benefiting from the wood, because from the timber, we're able to construct our houses. So all of us are benefiting. And it is something political. I think it's time the political class develop that humane heart. Yeah, it's high time politics should not be looked as a do or die affair. It should not be monetized. We should not look at people as just voters. That watu nikiwatoa kwa mto nimepoteza kura. Tukue na utu. Tukue na utu. Because if there are countries in this world, countries like Switzerland in Europe or elsewhere, whereby politics and environment, it's not that emotive. Before you come and enforce something, come and talk to them. Tell them as the reason as to why you people need to leave the river. You're not supposed to construct along the river, and provide a solution. Do your things in a humane way. Yeah? And then secondly, the way you have said, all of us are leaders in our own way. Today in the morning, I was joking with someone from Mukuru. I was telling them it's high time they elected an MCA from their own group. Yeah, and they joked, not knowing that you're going to talk about it. Yeah, it's high time. You know, sometimes when you talk, when we finger point, but there are also challenges inside there. Yeah. Once you get that elective office, you'll discover there are very many challenges as well. But to address those challenges, let the onus begin with us. Let us elect our leader from our own. Yeah. Then if it fails amongst our own, then we shall complain. Yeah. But let us as 2022 is coming, let us pick one of our own who understands where we are coming from, who understands how environment and climate are intertwined, environment and all these things are intertwined, what opportunities are there, because we should stop looking at the environment from a disaster kind of view and look at the opportunity. Yeah. I usually tell people that from every challenge, there is an opportunity. Yeah. And it needs leadership to look at that challenge, to discover what opportunities are there. Yeah. If you tell people, don't construct here, I'll offer you an alternative form of housing. An alternative form of housing that uses maybe plastic bottles. So these plastic bottles that they're throwing in the river, I can link you up with an organization, or I can teach you on how you can construct houses using these materials that are discarding away. Yeah. You're offering leadership. Yeah. So again, we need to change our mindset. Leadership is not all about political office. In our own right, we are leaders. You came to this forum here as a leader. You are picked as a leader. When you go back to the community, you're going to share with them what you picked up from here. Yeah. So as a leader, if you go back to the community and keep quiet, then what's the difference between you and that person who has been elected? Yeah. Yeah. So leadership begins from us. Yeah. Like when I leave this hall, I've picked so very many points. I'll go and share out there. So the challenge begins with us. We are the leaders of tomorrow, and the leadership of tomorrow begins now. It begins here.
Right. Yeah. Powerful. I want us to look at some of the comments that we picked from the streets from different places. Of course, when it comes to the Vox Pops, those who actually spoke to us on some of the challenges that they've been able to see related to the heavy rains when they come. Some of them are business people, and this is what they had to say. We went to the streets and we collected these samples, and when we come back, we want to be able to listen to the solutions and where we go from here as a society. We've talked so much about the challenges, but what would be the solutions? Let's take a look at these Vox Pops that we picked from the streets, and then we'll be back.
Jina naitwa Dennis Kariuki. Biashara huwa tunauza samosa kama mnavyoona.
Jina naitwa Margaret. Mimi nafanya kazi ya kuuza vitabu.
Mimi naitwa Mungai. Hapa kwa hii soko nimeajiriwa kwa hii serious drainage. Ni ukweli kukinyesha mvua mingi hapa mtaro inajaa, inaingia huku ndani, unaona tumeweka serious. Sometimes inatukimbiza juu we have lazima tuinue, zingine zinapata maji zinaharibika.
Drainage ikijaa inavuka mpaka saa zingine inavuka inatoka kwa drainage inaingia kwa nyumba, inaniadhiri juu sasa hata mtalo wenyewe kunuka, takataka, sewage, unaona. Tunaweza taka kwanza atengeneze drainage because drainage ikitengenezwa hata kwa manyumba tuwezi patwa na maji.
Nini sewage huwa ina flood huku kwa barabara, zinatupata hata kwa mastore. Sasa inatumbidi tu tunafunga kazi. Mpaka sasa the following day kama mvua itakuwa imeishaisha.
Mvua ikinyesha huwa maji na drain hapa kwenye watu wanakuria samosa, na inakuwa vigumu sana kwa watu kukuja kukura samosa sababu wengine hawana gumboot, wengine wanatumia slippers juu hatuwezi toshana kimaisha. Unaweza pata mtu hawezi pata pesa ya kununua gumboot, na mvua ikinyesha sasa huwa tunafuga, wenye wanaweza kuja wanakuja but wanakuwa wadogo. Then venye tunaweza omba ni serikali ama IMCA atusaidie kuongeza hizi mitaro na watu waache kutupa takataka kwa hizi mitaro, sababu ukitupa huwa zina block maji isiende.
Welcome to Look Up Guest House Retreat and Prayer Center. When you first come in, we'll be happy to receive you at our reception, then proceed to our cozy and well-equipped accommodation facilities. We aim to provide our guests with a unique, comfortable, and worthwhile experience. Here at Look Up Guest House, we provide our guests with a continuous supply of room amenities. A cool environment for all your retreat activities.
Look Up Guest House Retreat and Prayer Center. For reservation, contact us on info@lookupguesthouse.org or call us on 0746 788 707.
You guys have to tweet about this. What phone is this? Hey, looks good. How much is it? You haven't heard of the Optiven offer? No. I must exclusive invest too. Optiven has this amazing offer. If you make a commitment of 900k in any of their value-added projects, you get rewarded with a cool smartphone, bro.
Welcome to the Natural Juicing Center. We are a unique organization that seeks to provide the community with an alternative healthcare option. We specialize in the use of a natural holistic system that focuses on building health through cleansing and nourishing of the body. We utilize a variety of natural health promoting methods in our services, which include juicing therapy, hydrotherapy, colon cleansing, massage therapy, and a comprehensive cleansing service, among others. Our juices are freshly made and tailored to each and every client's individual needs after evaluation by our team through our free consultation service. You can now book for any service or order for food supplements on our website www.naturaljuicingcenter.co.ke. You can also visit our center in Kahawa Sukari, house number 1334, Kahawa Sukari Avenue. Natural Juicing Center. Your health is your wealth.
Like, follow, subscribe, click the notification button. Join the Look Up TV movement now.
Right, welcome back. Thank you so much for still being with us right here on The Big Idea. We are talking about the recurrent problem that we've always been seeing. Every time it rains, there's always a scenario where as a society we are losing lives, or we are also losing property worth a lot of money. And of course, the question we're asking today is, do we learn? And are there any lessons that we've learned so far that we can be able to say, come the next rainy season, we are not allowing for any of our friends, relatives to lose their lives or their property? Or is it business as usual? We'll just react to these particular issues. My name, as always, is Eugene Nangwe. I have a very able panel and, of course, a very great studio audience. Now, we are on the last bit of this particular conversation. And before we went for the break, we looked at some of the people who spoke to us, and they told us how, you know, the rains affect their businesses. There's a link between all that. Some of them, the sewers burst because of the drainage issues, and their businesses are affected. And so now I want us to go on a session where we are all going to share our ideas, so that whoever is watching right now is able to say, you know what, that's a good idea. I would love to reach out to these people that were on this particular panel. Is there something that we can do together? So if you came and you've not spoken, I hope you will not go without sharing your idea. It could be the idea that will actually save us from this particular scenario that we have. The microphone is on the floor. Who has it? Right, you can go ahead, say your name, and then you can go ahead.
Morning.
Aye.
I'm Jesse kutoka Githurai. Mtano nitakama mayasi. Ningependa kugusia jambo sama ongea kwa kirefu.
Shika hivi mic.
Ameongea kwa kirefu kuhusu mindset zetu sisi wenyewe. Kule Uswahilini kuna msemo tunasema, fagia kwako, kwangu achia kanjo. I think hapo ndio shida yetu iko as a community ama as people. Kweli wanasiasa wametuangusha na wana appetite kubwa sana, very keen appetite for encroachment, breaking promises and all that. Na tumekuwa kwa hiyo cycle ya kushida tukicomplain. Every election cycle wametufanyia, wajatufanyia, onekani. Fine. Also I believe, of course, constitutionalism inatuambia sovereignty ni yetu sisi. So at the end of the day, sisi ndio tumewapea ile job. And we get what we deserve. So where do we go from here? Sisi wenyewe vile madam alituelekeza, tunafaa tubadilishe mienendo yetu right from pale mtoto akiwa mchanga.
Yeah.
Mtoto agrow na ile mentality kwamba masuala yanayohusu mazingira yenye yanaleta haya madhara kwenye environment yanatuhusu sisi. Si mwanasiasa. At the end of the day, wakati mafuriko yametokea, hayatokei say up marketplaces kwenye our leaders wanaishi. Yanatokea kwetu sisi kule ground. Tasikia mafuriko yako Gong River, Kibera, Mathare and stuff like that. Okay, fine. We are also guilty as charged, tunajenga kwa riparian and all that. But what pushes the people to that end, fine, ni poor policies and all that stuff. But sisi kama people, kama community, tuna jukumu la kuelimisha watoto wachanga, wakijua majukumu yetu, na pia sisi kama vielekele, kama role models of society, kama leaders in our own right, tunafaa ku role model kuonyesha mtoto, ukinywa maziwa ile pakiti kwa mfano, si lazima itupe kwa dustbin. Ingekuwa bora zaidi ungerecycle ikue ni ya kupandia mbegu ya avocado yenye ulikula nayo githeri jana. And that's where at the end of it, utakuta tumechange ile mindset na tumeweza kuavert disasters from happening.
Right.
Asante.
I love that. That's amazing. And what he says is also in line with what Eva said earlier on. Eva, you said, when you see someone going to build along the river banks, you as a member of the community, you have the right to actually tell them not to do that. But the challenge is atakupindulia kuambie hizi shida, kuambie uliza serikali mambo ya kazi, mambo ya kunikataza kubuild hapa, akwambia atakufanya nini? So How do we do that? I mean, gentlemen, you have a mic. Probably you can go ahead.
Habari zenyu.
Mzuri sana.
Okay, my name is Bernard Okoth Witi, na mimi nafanya kazi na Msalaba Mwekundu wa Kenya Red Cross. Mimi ni field officer program inajiita CAC Nairobi. So mi kwanza kama mimi ni mkaaji wa Mkuru na mimi ni CBDRT hapo Mkuru. Ile maana community based disaster response team.
Yeah.
CBDRT. Wana mimi kwangu ulikuwa unaona kuna mmoja tunalaumu wanasiasa pia saa zingine, na sisi wenyewe kama community pia tunafaa kulaumiwa Mimi nimeona kama sana sana upande kwetu wale watu tuseme MCA not MCA au ma MPs wakitaka kuingia pale approach yao inakuwa ni grab land na sisi kama vijana tunakuwa kwanza pale tunaambiwa tukashike pale. For example kama mheshimiwa wetu anaitwa Jago Denge pale kuna zile land wali grab hapo za reli nini, unaona. So unapata ile idea wale wamekuwa nao pale, unajua hao wanasiasa wanatumia akili zetu so wanajua wale tushajua, wanajua weak point yetu ni hapa ushajua wale vijana ama wale wazee wa kijiji nikiwaambia kuna hii party ya vijana, hii party ya nini, hiyo kura nimepata So unapata zile sisi kama tujajijua, lakini nashukuru sisi kama Msalaba tumefanya kazi sana kwa community. Tumekuwa tukipatia na awareness, tumejua tumekuwa tunapatia na tumekuwa na trainings tumekuwa na zile ma forum zile, tumeita watu, tumeita ma stakeholders, wanashare ideas zao. But sasa according to zile vitu tumeona kwa community, unapata wale labda wana zile views nzuri ama wanataka kupatia na wana divert against hizi mambo zao, labda watu wa serikali ama labda watu kama hawa wanasiasa. Utapata forum mingi waitwe jotaki wanaona huyu jamaa anatuangusha. For example nakumbuka tukianza kitambo ni kwa volunteer, kuna chief mmoja alikuwa anaitwa Chief Hali, alikuwa anajiita Famao Hali. Tulikuwa tumetembea nayo Landmawe mzima. Mimi natoka kwa ward inaitwa Landmawe. Na Landmawe tuko tumeweka kila site kulikuwa na ndika space, a green space, tuko tumetengeneza miti kama 30 40. Ule chief alipopigwa transfer, kitu cha kwanza ule chief aliyokuja ni Mragoli. Alizikata zote hizo miti. Tukajaribu kuandamana pale, tukapigwa tear gas hapo kidogo, tukasema hapana nini mwisho au machama wanakuja kutusika, naomba jamaa bana achana, serikali itakuumiza. So ujokushitishiwa pia kuna saa nyingine nabii ukienda kwa the other office unaambiwa wako busy tuma location So unapata sima youth pia tuna subra. Mpigwa location leo, kesho chief sijui kwa mkutano gani. So unapata ile kitu itakuchukuliwa tu tukiona But nashukuru sana tumekuwa na tuna organization, kuna network within asa Mkuru tumekuwa tunaangalia zile space, green spaces so far. Na hata kuna ingine opposite Bakita, kuna Bakita primary ama St Michael secondary, tunaifanyia kazi, at least tumefieka tumenini, tunajaribu kuitoa. Unapata community ndio space imebaki tuko tunataka tuweke park, ile park inaweza saidia vijana, tunaweza kufundisha wale watoto wetu wajue spaces, wajue ile climate change, wajue nini mamiti, vitu kama hizo. Tumedesign kitu kama hiyo. So unapata issues zile tunatukula sisi kama community ni unapata hizi chances tukipatiwa. Mimi kama kiongozi labda nimepewa ndambo bena, wewe unapiga mdomo sana, wewe katiwa mahali fulani, acha mambo mengi, hizi ni room 6, unaona. So unaweka mimi ni ule kiongozi pia naangalia tu hapo, angalia ile, so unapata unatupigia hapo. That's why unapata hii kitu itakuwekiwa. Mimi personally kuna kazini yangu ilienda na maji mpaka sasa hivi tunaongea, tutamuona tumetafuta alienda hivyo, tusake kwa tufanye kimila tu, ziko kimila ndizi sijui hizo kimila so na tumekuwa kama for example mimi nilienda nikamwambia mwenyewe tukamwambia tukeni, unapata kuna kitu sama amesema ile mindset yetu pia ni muhimu. Ukituambia beno tuambie wewe ku Red Cross uko kazi, unaona vile mtu anakuambia hii mtu tumezoea tanyesha tu taenda, kumbe hiyo siku mtu si hivyo wakapitwa na maji so na lazima tuna challenge pia pale kwa community kulela mindset yetu lazima tu change, na ndio brother wangu amesema na tutaichaji through seminars, through hizo hizo TV station wakuje kwa community pia wachukue hizi video tuoji pia tupatiane zile viral at least hiki tutaona change kwa community yetu, na tunataka ile community tunataka kuwa na pia wanasiasa venye brother wangu alisema wasitutumie wanatumia wewe chukua space, wewe tulio ni kiongozi tujue tunataka kufanya nini. Huyu kiongozi unataka tuambie tufanyie moja mbili, najua zingine hizi fanya, labda ni mtu kama mimi nimetaka kusimama MCC na pesa lakini nina idea so lazima nitafanya kitu kidogo, na mmoja anamwambia mtu kiongozi uzaliwa na hiyo kiongozi, mtu akizaliwa na si kiongozi lazima utupe pesa. Si kiongozi kuna idea unaweza kuja nazo, tunaweza ona huyu ni jamaa yenyewe anafaa kuwa kiongozi. Asanteni.
Asante sana. Thank you. So Chenye Sam alisema ya kwamba kiongozi anaweza toka from us. Maybe that idea bado ataonyeshwa, si hapa kuna milango 4 bana. Ataturuka tu. So is there any other idea on the floor? Yeah? Okay, then we'll go at the back. Go ahead. Yes.
Okay, ni mimi tena,
Yeah.
Nancy. But kama member wa Red Cross, hatufai kuzingatia sana mambo ya siasa. But this has like touched us directly. Kwa community kunafaa kuwa na dumping sites, si ndio? Na kunafaa na vile mmesikia Mukuru, Ngong River imekata cross Mukuru, si ndio? Hizi dumping sites hawa politicians wetu ndo wanapeana. Vile umesikia kina Ben wanaambiwa nyamaza, chukua milango 6 hapo. These are allocated dumping sites. As a member of the community, kuna taka zinatoka kwa nyumba zile kila siku. These households generates a lot of garbage. In fact, like 90% of the garbage that we witness around are generated in the households. Eugene, may I ask, where should we dump these garbages? According to you, where would you do it? Dumping sites already zimejengwa manyumba ama watu wameweka business hapo. Unaona? Wewe kama mkazi wa pale kijijini, where are you supposed to dump?
So they end up dumping in the rivers?
They end up dumping in the rivers. Alafu kuna vile zinatoleagwa, kuna mashirika madogo nyingi wamejitolea, wanatoa uchafu kwa kutry to bring sanity into the community. Wanatoa hizo uchafu kwa river, maybe wanazieka hapo kando, zikauke kisha zikwe ferried somewhere else. But laws zile zimekuwa na hawa politicians wetu, wameka laws finyu sana. Like kupeleka hizi takataka kwenda kuzidam, lazima mtoe sijui pesa ngapi. Kupeleka hizi garbage Dandora, sijui lori lazima ikwe sijui na leseni gani. Unaona? You end up all the garbage end up ending up in the river. Na kukiwa na flash floods, obviously it overflow. Madhara yatatokea at the end of the day.
So how do we solve this? Solution. Big idea yako ni gani?
Vile Sam amesema, environment na politics zinaenda sako kwa bako. Sivyo? Tunakuwaga na community conversations. But saa zile unawahitaji muongele issues kama hizi hawako. Unaona? Kama sisi mbunge wetu wa Starehe, I don't know when was the last time I ever saw him. Wanafaa kuja kwa forums kama hizi. Si hatutaki hizo mamia zao 200 wanatupatia. But watupatie long lasting solutions as to bring sanity back into the community.
Right. Asante sana. Thank you very much. Thank you. Nataka wale ambao wajaongea, nataka ku make sure leo kama umekuja usiende bila kitu. Pitisha pale. Yes.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
My name is Zawadi Maluki. I'm from Gatharaini Water Resource Users Association. It's along Gatharaini River iko kwa Thika Road Highway, hapo tu kando ya highway.
Right.
And one of the challenges we have faced is trying to get the government to listen to us. Because Sam has been there, people from Mukuru have been there. We have done a really nice job. I'm not Sijigambi. We have transformed the place into a park, and it's a riparian. In fact, hata watu wa Mukuru, when they came, they said, oh my God, ini space imekaa hivi. Because everyone sees it as an opportunity to build houses and make money. But as we decided, let's build a park for people from Githurai, where they can come and sit without even paying anything, at least for now. But now we chose, hivyo wamesema we choose our own. We chose our own last time, and shock on us. he has started coming just the other day, and you know why? It's 1 year to elections. He has never done anything for us.
Huyu ni nani?
MCA wa Mwiki ward.
Anaitwa nani?
Mwiki na Clay City koziko kwa border. There's Samora, Mheshimiwa Samora and Kidim. Kimani.
Yeah.
So unaona, we have tried to talk to them, watu wenye wamejenga kwa mto. There are those who have encroached, but they are big people. So there's even a time walikuja na OCS and they were saying, we have the title for this place. And Makio, it's a riparian. So unashindwa akona title aje. Na anasema, this is my land, I have the title. But since wameona tumeamka kidogo, because we are a registered RUA, tumepanda miti, wakona uoga kidogo, but bado wanatamani vile watapenya hapo ndani. Kwa sababu kama kudrain kwa mto, siwa zote zimeangalia mto. Ukiwa kwa mto utaona tu drainage imetoka huko juu. As in, choo tu yote iko hapo. Tumejaribu kureport kwa ofisi za NEMA. Hakuna mtu anafanya kitu. So sometimes it's frustrating for us youth. You have put your all, your time and everything, sometimes even resources. But ukienda kwa government unaambia, okay, wacha hizo karatasi. Wacha tu tutakupigia and nothing happens.
Right.
So
maybe let's say kuna mwenye anasikiza mwenye anafaa kuact on this na anakusikiza saizi. Talk to them just very briefly on your solution, on your idea to the solution.
I would like them to consider every other place ni kama mahali wanaishi, because I am sure those people don't live in such areas. Mahali wanaishi kuna dustbin, kuna siwa, kuna miti. Yeye haizi ishi kwa riparian, si ndio? Sasa mbona akuje yeye ajenge house, nyumba, alafu awaachie muishi? They should stop being selfish.
Stop being selfish.
Yes.
Thank you very much. That's powerful. I'm going to jazungumza. Just we are now taking the ideas on solutions.
Okay, thank you very much. My name's Grace Nyawira kutoka Mukurunyayo. Solution ya kwetu ni Mukurunyayo. Now that the rain is coming on November. Saizi tukasema tu ianze tu saizi kwetu. Watu wengi sana tutakuwa na challenge. Again. Na niseme tu ni ile tu, I think poverty pia inachangia. Once nimeenda saizi nafanya sensitization, sababu hiyo ndio sana sana mimi kama volunteer naenda kwa kijiji, kama kiongozi naenda naambia watu, now the rain is coming. So ikikuja ukiona maji imefika mahali fulani unafaa uhame upande juu. So mtu anakuuliza sawa Grace, na hama niende wapi? Hii nyumba tu ndio naweza afford kulipa. So hakuna vile naweza toka hapa nipande juu. So ile kitu yenye mimi naona kama viongozi wetu kwa saa hizi wanafaa watusaidie kwa hao watu wenye wako karibu na hiyo mto. Ni sawa tunawaambia waame, wanaama waende wapi? Hawana place ile wataenda kuafondi, sababu maisha yao iko tu ile chini. Wanasema haya sawa, unaniambia niame niende kwa chief, nitaka hapo na watoto wangu kwa chief. So ni ile tu wanangoja ile siku ya mvua ikikuja waniite waniambie pigia Red Cross, ama tuambie ile namba yao tunawaambianga wacha tupige 1199 tuambie maji na tubeba. As far as maji na tubeba tunaenda wapi? So poverty inachangia sana ndani ya kijiji. So kuna ile kazi kwa vijana. Kwa saizi imesimama. Takataka zote mtu anatoka na takataka kwake anarusha tu hapo. So drainage zote zimefungana. Hakuna place yenye tunaweza toa, hata tukitoa hizo takataka tumeenda tumefanya clean up, hatuna place yenye tutaweka zile tako. Tunaziacha pale. The following day asubuhi zile takataka zimerudi tena. So kwa rinders wetu naona ni jukumu yao, at least hii kazi na mambo na NMS. Najua au kama ni au MC wetu wanajua hizi takataka tukizitoa kuna wale watu wakanjo lori zao ziko wapi? Hazionekani. So zile takataka hata tukitaka kusaidia tunazitoa, yes, but the following day morning zimerudi tena. So tunafanya zero work, hakuna kitu yenye tunafanya. Community wanajua hizo takataka wanafaa wazipeleke, watazipeleka wapi? Ni kwa mto tu. So finally zinaenda up tu kurushwa kwa mto, ama hapa tu nje kwako kwa mlango tunarusha tu hapo. So ninaona kazi ngumu ni pia tushikane na leaders wetu. Tunakuanga na vitu zinaitwa kama chief baraza. tunawaita. Mi naona ni vizuri tushikane vizuri, tuwaite, tuwaongeleshe, wajue zile challenges zenye tunapitia, ndio tujue kama kuna the way out. Wanaweza tusaidia na hizi lori, wanaweza saidia pia kazi mtaani irudi tena, ndio tuendelee kusaidia kutoa hizi takataka juu maji inakuja na obvious ni lazima ikuje, na bado watu wanakaa kwa zile nyumba hawatahama.
Right.
Ndio hiyo maji at least tukue tumetoa hizo takataka, ndio maji iweze kupenya.
Right. Asante sana. Tuchukue mbili za mwisho. Yes, Billy, yes.
Habari zenu?
Mzuri. Unaweza toa hivi tukuone vizuri, ndio kesho tukikuchagua tunasema tunakumbuka. Yes.
Sawa. Mimi naitwa Elvis, natoka Githurai. I'm a member of an environmental group. So mina feel leadership is not a title. It's actually leadership in action. So mina encourage formation of many youth groups na hizi environmental groups. Hizo zita make our leaders wafeel yani decision haiko kwa mikono yao.
Hawatanunuliwa, you know. Most of the times the leaders are looking, ni gani tutanunua? You know, kama mshajiform uko strong, yeah. How do we make them strong as part of, you know, wanasimama ground yao wanasema no is no, we have refused.
As in, hizo youth groups huyo mwenye anataka kununuliwa akiangalia vile hizo youth groups zingine zimekuwa consistent na vile wamesimama, atakuwa anaona ana let down na wengine. So I think itakuwa hard sana ku accept offers ka hizo.
Right.
And then watoto wetu pia tukue na behaviors yani zingine, kama mtu mkubwa hafai kutupa takataka chini, tu encourage hizo kutengeneza litter bins. Vitu kaa hizo zitafanya hii generation yenye tunaibring ikuwe pia responsible. Isikuwe ati kila time atufanyi kitu juu ya leader fulani afanyi kitu. Tukue tu responsible kivyetu, yani tuchukue kama collective responsibility.
Right.
Na tutadrift to forward pamoja.
Asante sana. Hapo nyuma. Yes, tunatafuta solution. Your big idea to the solution. Mvua ikikuja in October, haitaua vile imekuwa ikiua, it will not cause distractions. What are the ideas or what is your solution?
Hello.
Yeah.
My name is Moses Were. Mi pia ni mkaaji wa Kibira. Mali inaitwa Maranatha. So ameongelelea vitu mingi huyu. And I think kuna vitu amesema kuhusu hizo feeding program.
Yeah.
Na maybe you're doing collection ya takataka. So nitasema tu ni kwa nini alikuwa anasema hivyo.
Yeah, like kwa sababu ya time, tuambie
okay.
Solution. Unaona kama solution ni gani ndio tusiendelee kulose maisha, mali wakati mvua inanyesha. Oktoba tusikwe na kesi za watu wamekufa.
Okay. So far nitasema tuko na first solution. Na hii first solution tuliipata since 2019. Wakati mazingira yetu organization ilikuja Kibra, unapata the level of takataka zenye zinatoka mtana kukuja kwa river zilikuwa juu sana. And so mazingira yetu ikakama up, nikakuja na idea ya clean river.
Yeah.
Ikwe safi. So unajua the moment mnafanya hizo takataka zisije ndani ya river, unakuwa umesolve. Hiyo ni ya kwanza. Right. Cha pili ni kuna watu pia walikuwa na divert hiyo river still. Mtu ana divert iende kwingine ndio sasa hapo aweze kujenga. Unajua maji nayo ikija itarudi tu mali ilikuwa. So pia tulikuwa na hiyo ya kuhamasisha wakazi that usiwahi divert river venye inakuja.
Yeah.
So we all the time wacha tuipite njia yake.
Right.
The solution ya mwisho ni unajua all along tujai kuwa tuko na so many organizations within Kibra. And Kibra is the heart of politics in Nairobi pia ukiangalia sana. So kuna hiyo siasa as much as Sam alikuwa anasema politics and nini tusizingatie, but kumekuwa ni politics and politics and politics. hata kama tunataka kusolve hiyo situation ya river, bado lazima tuhusishe tu wanasiasa. So unapata some of the organizations zilikuja na same objectives kama mazingira yetu, kusolve hizo madhara za flood na so along the way unapata ni politicians wanataka kuhusishwa. So my point is the politician, kama kuna kitu ambayo inataka kusaidia mwananchi, naye wasihusike nayo. Wache objectives za hizo organization ziko ziendelee nayo.
So
interference iko, then hizi organization still zinaweza tafuta mbinu, because all along kumekuanga tu na some of the organizations zitakuja tu saa zile kuna hiyo shida. Unajua kama mazingira yetu ilikam before hata tujue kutakuwa na hiyo heavy rainfall, na ikajaribu kutupatia solution yenye itafanya. So still mimi najua hata kama tulipoteza 6 or to 7 lives, maybe bila hiyo tungepoteza zaidi. Na still ni nini tunaweza fanya? So tuliongelelea maybe the agenda ikuwe ni hiyo, protect life. Then we look for to discuss na watu husika of which ijaifanyika. Then after that we implement it. Na after implementation tufanye evaluation of which pia huwa happen. Tunaacha tu shida ifanyike na ni hivyo. So evaluation after that ni tuliachieve nini. Then itakuwa better.
Asante sana. Thank you. Because of time, I think I'll come back to the panel for the closing remarks or way forward. I won't say closing because these are conversations ambazo we need to keep having. But let me start with Sam. Sam, where do we go from here? You know, we've had a lot on the ground when it comes to how they feel we need to solve this. But how do we ensure that come the next rainy season, we are not seeing explosive headlines of how lives have been lost, you know, how people have been swept by the rivers? I mean, what is your big idea as we move? What do we do from here?
My big idea comes out of experience. One of the major causes of flooding in our informal settlements is as a result of poor waste disposal. So we need to change our mindset regarding waste disposal. Taka ni pato. Within that waste from households, there are a lot of resources that can be recycled. That instead of being thrown into the river, it can be recycled to generate income for us. Yeah. So as organizations, as youth groups, as a government, let us embrace the element of circular economy. Let us drive circular economy to the ground. Yeah, vijana. Instead of collecting takataka wende utupe, there are very many companies in industrial area in Mukuru who could buy those plastic bottles. And if you go to the rivers right now, it is those plastic bottles that are clogging the rivers that make it to flood. So embracing circular economy. And that can be embraced by introducing something called a solid waste segregation centers, whereby a facility is constructed where we have organic and inorganic rooms. Waste is collected by these youth groups, it is brought there, it is sorted. What can be recycled is recycled, what can't be recycled is taken to Dandora. Point number 2 is that we need to have a real conversation with our politicians and inform them that politics and environment are intertwined. Let us not take advantage of our vulnerability of our people to achieve our political agenda. Let us use the environmental agenda as a tool of empowering each and every one of us. Yeah? Where we live in very posh areas, but the people we represent are living in very poor, or I can say, in areas that are very difficult to live with. Let us have that humane. Let the environmental talk let it not be politicized. Then, lastly, the element of urban development. It's high time our Nairobi or our town centers embrace the element of urban development. Our urban developers, like they don't exist. That office is quiet, it's not well funded. So it's high time that our urban development is brought to be at the top of the agenda. Let it be at the cream. Whichever government that will come in 2022, let them embrace urban development. Let them redesign our informal settlements. The moment we redesign our informal settlements, we shall discover we have got a lot of space. Because instead of constructing horizontally, let us start going vertical. And that can only happen through urban development.
Right.
So urban development, embracing circular economy, and having a human heart towards environmental conservation vis-a-vis having politics in it are my 3 ideas.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Eva, you have the last word.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Eugene. I think we've gotten quite a number of solutions from the audience, and I don't think I would add anything, because these are solutions that we have. I think the only issue is coming out of idealization to actualization. But as you have asked, what is it that we can do between now and October? Those are like 2 months. But I'd want to speak about the bigger picture, yeah? Because there's some things that we might not be able to attain in the next 2 months.
Yeah.
And we already know our rainy seasons, the MAM and the OND. So to speak holistically, what I really advocate for raising awareness, and more so among the school children, the younger ones. And someone mentioned the audience. Because this is a culture you are nurturing in someone. And I'm not only speaking about issues to do with floods, but the whole spectrum of environmental conservation and management. And yeah, let's try and build that culture within the schools, whether it's environment, school clubs, because these are the stewards of environmental conservation. These are the leaders of tomorrow.
Yeah.
So that I'm a big advocate for that. And I think we have spoken at length of how it's everyone's mandate. Let's stop pointing fingers. In our own little way, it's in the Constitution that we are all entitled to a clean and healthy environment. And that being said, then you also have a part to play as an individual. When you are in the community, even as of today, what you have learned here, you can go and share with someone else, yeah? So let's continue this conversation going, raise awareness amongst each other. There's a saying that he said you can only do up to a certain point, and then the rest you leave it to, the others. What I'm saying is we can do up to a certain point as a community members, and when you know that you have done your best, you are seated, you are, you're happy that you have done your part, you're not littering, you are not the one cutting down trees everywhere. Once you know that you're seated, that you have done something, then now we call upon our leaders, whether they're going to comply or not, but you have done your part, and then now also bring the leaders on board. Politics is we can sit here and talk about it all day, yeah? But just to say that I have challenged, and I know we have spoken about, why can't we be the change that we want, yeah? One of us here can be that change that you want to see in your community. So don't be afraid to knock on those doors. Don't be afraid to be vocal about these issues, because only you can bring that change that you envisage in your community.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I would leave it at that, because most of the solutions have already
have been mentioned.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Eva. I think we've had a lot from both of you. Eva Wanjiku, Environment and Climate Change Adaptation Officer, Kenya Red Cross Society, and Sam Dindi, Director, Planning and Community Mobilization, Mazingira Yetu Organization, and our lovely audience. Asanteni sana. I think what we need to understand is that we bear the solutions to our problems. I think they've come from us. And if we do have them, let us not wait for someone else to come and solve those problems for us. Change starts with you. Change starts with you, and you can already start doing that as an individual, then slowly it will spread. And now that we are here, many of us, it means you can already start that change from where you are. And here at Look Up TV, we believe in actually being that platform that is solutions focused. And we hope that you will be able to start that step of creating that change. Let us all agree that no life should be lost in the next rainy season. No property should be lost in the next rainy season. We have the solutions, right? So we're going to do it. Yes. Sindio? Yes. Aya basi, asanteni sana for making time. Thank you so much for coming through. We want to say thank you to our viewers who've been watching us. Thank you for being a part of this conversation. The hashtag is The Big Idea. And of course, we'll see you again next time. The conversation might have ended in these four walls, but it continues on our social media platforms at Lookup TV. You can tweet me directly at Eugene Anangwe. And of course, as always, my name is Eugene Anangwe. Goodbye for now.
We value your feedback and welcome your complaints about our programming and operations. Feel free to get in touch with us through 0700 893 542 or send us an email to views@look-up.tv. We can't wait to hear from you.